If you want to use specific part of code more than once, you need to use cycles. And this is what you will learn here in this programming lecture. ABAP offers two ways how to create cycles. Either you can use do or while cycle. In this programming lecture, I will demonstrate using these cycles on one simple example. I will output 10 lines of code. Each line of code will contain the number of code, and each second line will contain some background color. So I have already prepared constants for this lecture. First constant contains number of rows to be displayed, and second constant contains cycle color. Actually not 4 but 3. I will show you 3 ways of using cycle, and I have chosen 3 colors to visually separate these cycles in the output as well. So first way how I can create 10 rows using and having their number of row. For that I will use do statement. In this case I want to say do 10 times write output on the screen. Since I like to use constants instead of pure numbers, I say do 10 times the cycle this way using constant, and I just write into each new row. And this is interesting, I can use system variable which holds the number of each iteration of cycle. So this system variable name is sy index. So let me quickly show you how it looks like in the output. Enter and execute. So actually it works. And I also want to display each second row in the way that it contains background color. I just use this variable which I have already prepared, and I show you how I do that. I divide current number of the row using modulo 2. The result of this calculation is either 0 or 1, because it gives me back remainder of this deletion. So I can say that, and this way I can decide if gv mod result contains 0, then change color of background to and to the one which I have prepared here. PC color do X times. Otherwise, format color to background. Okay, so that's it. Check the syntax, activate and execute. Second approach how to create the same output is to use endless do cycle. And endless do cycle is done this way: do and do without times addition. This way do cycle creates endless loop. Technically it stops in some time, it doesn't run forever if you don't implement exit from this cycle. Limit on how long this cycle runs is set up in SAP configuration system. So what I can do here, I can do basically the same thing which I did before. I just copy and paste the previous logic, and I will just change the color of the background to do endless. And after write statement, I want to make sure that after 10th iteration of do cycle, I will exit this cycle. So if sy index equals, and I use here maximum number of rows which is supposed to be displayed, then do exit of do cycle. So I use pretty printer, check the syntax, activate the code, enter, and here we go. So last approach how to create the same output is to use while cycle. While cycle is being repeated until certain condition is met. So here we go. While sy index is less or equals gc number of rows, then do whatever what is inside, and of course I will copy and paste the same code, and I change the color to while, and that's it. So from this programming lecture, you have to realize what kind of cycle you need, depending on what information you have. If you know exact number on how many times you need to do cycle, then you know that you need to use do cycle for specific number of times. If you have no clue how many times you run, you either use endless do cycle or while cycle if you know the condition when you want to stop cycle. So depending on situation, you can choose whatever cycle suits your needs.